Hello and welcome to the First Issue Club podcast. We are your weekly comic book reading club that features what?
Comic books.
First issues.
Oh, first issues of comic books.
And just like Sue Storm, we enjoy a good read. That's why we do said podcast about first issues. As always, each of us has come locked and loaded with a fresh number one in our brains and have tons of takes ready to gush out of our mouths.
What a way to put that.
Yep. But however,
caveat, folks,
we're going to be talking about comic book news, exciting trends in the industry.
We have to ramble for about 20 minutes before we get to the meat and potatoes of what you want.
Yep.
Like any good podcast, we don't just do what you want at the top of the episode.
No, we got to talk about our lives.
I am Mike D.
I'm Greg.
And I am Vargas.
And let's get this ship a-rolling. Toot toot.
There's a new Punisher, and we don't know who it is yet.
Mm.
Early rumors are it may be Deathlock, or it may be Nick Fury.
Oh, what did Deathlock show up in recently that I...
Was he in that
read.
Taskmaster?
He was in Savage Avengers.
Savage Avengers.
David Pepos.
Yes.
And it was that the one where it was, it was an alternate Miles Morales.
Yes, because they were going through time.
Yes, they were.
That was such a great series.
Awesome series.
So he was there. And he's been all over the place.
Deathlock as Punisher. I buy it character-wise.
There's also another front runner is Drax.
Oh, that would be kind of fun.
Which that kind of gives Marvel a clever loophole. It's not a quote-unquote human using guns for vengeance. It's an alien using space laser guns.
Uh-huh.
And would he do it on like a planetary scale probably?
Maybe, or just come to Earth.
I think that's fun to do that in outer space.
Yeah, I mean,
for sure.
Cosmic Ghost Rider is kind of the same
You're going to
thing.
have people who are like, this isn't the essence of a Punisher comic book, but
they're 55 and almost dead anyway, so...
Yeah.
It doesn't mean, like, people can do something fun with a character name, and it doesn't mean that the thing you like will never happen again.
Yeah.
I like this idea. I like it it's like a mantle now to be passed down. A new Punisher. And I'm excited to see who it is. I'm excited that we're leaving the old idea of what the Punisher is and what it represents behind, possibly.
I don't know that that's going to be the case. Do you think so?
I think it'll be less gun bullet revenge and more space lasers shooting fun.
I think it's a great idea to leave Frank Castle in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Like, move on beyond.
He's tired.
Yeah, he's past his prime in more ways than one.
Mm-hmm.
The world has evolved beyond the traditional Punisher.
That sort of character.
The vibe's off.
The vibe, he does not pass the vibe check for sure.
Nope.
We just to be clear, we all agree on that.
Crusty vibes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
What I am thinking is happening is they're giving Frank a breather post the ending of Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil run.
Mm-hmm.
And just like they killed Miss Marvel for 1 minute and then said, okay, now we're ready for the next thing.
They said, get the egg.
With Kamala Khan, right. Now we're probably gonna do that with Frank in like another 6 months.
So you think Frank will be back
Yeah.
inevitably as
Yes.
Punisher again
Yeah.
with bigger and better guns looking to mow down folk
See, Punisher, Frank Castle should come back, but like
as a mentor.
as like the man on the wall. Like, bring back Frank Castle, but don't give him a skull and call him the Punisher.
Yeah. Like he's the guy behind the chair.
Yeah.
In the chair behind the computer.
Yeah.
Or were you saying literally man on the wall, like replacing Fury on the moon?
Yeah, Fury on the moon. Like, give him a totally different role in the Marvel Universe.
Well, that is true because the man on the wall is now gone.
Correct.
There isn't a man on the wall.
Right.
Correct.
That Nick Fury went through a space door, and was just like, now on to other adventures.
Yeah.
And current Nick Fury's just like, okay, now I'm going to do other stuff.
Time to do spy shit.
I think old Nick Fury thought that new Nick Fury was going to stay behind on the moon.
I think
That's
so too.
right.
He didn't clarify that though. He probably should have checked before he left and lock the door behind him.
And then the Watcher's like, oh, I'm alone again.
Yeah. No friends on the
Or
moon.
Watu.
Guess I'll call Frank.
That's how Watu sounds.
Poor he's always talking in third person. Poor Watu.
You guys
they burned
know
my pizza bagels.
You know I can't interfere.
I know who's going to win the Kentucky Derby. It's not fun for me. Although I do get to wear a fun hat.
God, can you imagine the size of the Watchers?
Can
Kentucky
the Watcher
Derby
make a hat him himself cannot doff? These are the questions that keep me up at night.
I like the idea of Punisher as the man on the wall. And let's say you want to do Punisher stuff. I think you do the Garth Ennis style Punisher Warzone things that are like, this is flashbacks to his time in Vietnam again.
Yeah. Well, and they'll have Garth Ennis come back every 5 years to do another Punisher comic. So,
is it worth it to Marvel to really devote time to figure out the problem with the Punisher? Like, because all these superheroes are in essence doing the same thing, not in the same way, but they're doing their own form of justice and saving the world and trying to do good. The only issue with the Punisher is he does it in a more realistic way to us humans in the real world. Like, he uses real life things that we can go essentially buy at a Walmart.
yeah.
I don't think Marvel changing the essence of the character is going to stop people from putting Punisher stickers on their cars. And
I don't think so either.
You know what I mean?
I don't think so either.
So,
because those stories still exist.
but does that mean Marvel should abandon this character and just tell the story, and instead of just telling the stories more responsibly? Maybe like, I think Marvel has every right, and Jason Aaron's run had a more thoughtful Frank Castle, and they found a way to make him part of what was the Fist.
He was part of the
Or
hand.
the hand.
He was
the hand.
the god of the hand.
And then Daredevil was on the Fist.
Yeah.
God, that was so confusing to me. I will say, as much as I love Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil, Volume 2 got away from me.
Oh, really?
I was very, now I'm like, I just don't know what's going on anymore.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
I
guess you're not reading it and
I'm not.
don't have any takes. Okay.
I'm not.
I assumed you were.
I super want a Daredevil by Zdarsky Omni.
It is coming.
Good.
They're going to have to break it into
Like two of them.
because it's way too long.
Because Devil's Reign's in there.
It's like it's like 50 issues.
And
that might have to be 3 Omnis.
Yeah.
Well, I'll buy them.
Marvel knows.
Yeah.
Marvel knows you will.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
It was just interesting to me that Marvel is not going to go the Frank Castle route again, but is still just like, we want to use the Punisher.
Yeah.
And we're not going to reveal who yet, which gives me some indication that it is someone out of the ordinary that can put a new spin on what the Punisher, quote unquote, is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's exciting for me.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Before the podcast started, we also began chatting about Kamala Khan.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, up. Let's save it for content.
Yeah. I don't want to talk to you people unless there's a microphone in front of my face.
We know she's coming back.
Yes.
Is she part of a lot of the like taglines and things have been like, get ready for a new mutant?
Mm-hmm.
Do we know for sure, is she going to be joining the team, the New Mutants?
No, I think she's just they're branding her as the newest mutant.
The newest mutant.
Like,
okay.
her book is Ms. Marvel, the New Mutant.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I don't think she's joining the New Mutants. It'd be cool if she did.
Yeah.
But
The title was confusing to me.
I think they're just saying she's a mutant now.
Yeah.
And she's the newest one.
Okay.
Welcome.
Is there a team that you would like to see Kamala Khan on?
The New Mutants would be cool.
Send her to Mars and put her on X-Men Red.
Not really an X-Force or a Hellions type, I don't think.
What about X-Corp? she's in there making calls.
She'd be perfect in X-Corp because we know she's like...
Krakoa is for closers.
She was working at Oscorp before her death. She could go to another place and work with multiple man.
Right. In the mailroom room, work her way up.
They kind of shuttered that, didn't they?
Yeah. It was only a 5-issue series.
It was a 5-issue series. I don't think the corporate entity exists anymore in the storyline.
That's a bummer because that was really intriguing for me.
I loved that series.
Yeah.
Is Sword still around? What was that Space X-Men book that was?
Yeah, so Sword is no longer on. It's not going anymore. Right now, Abigail Brand has been labeled a traitor, has been working with Orcus, and is on the run. And Sword has kind of is in disarray.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she could be the leader of Sword. That would be kind of fun.
She could be the new Punisher.
Oh, okay. All right. You say that.
Abigail Brand.
Oh?
The Punisher.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
I don't hate it.
Because she's got powers, right? What are her powers? She's psychic?
Being able to run shit
irresistible
like a
charm.
boss.
A leader's mentality.
Super synergy.
I think, she is a mutant, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what her power is, to be honest.
Captivating eyes.
Cool green hair. It could just
winning
be
smile.
It could just be that it turned her hair green, and that was all she got.
Yeah, she's like so bummed.
Yeah.
At least I can go through the gates. At least I get invited to the Hellfire Gala, which that's coming up soon.
Yeah, again.
Is this an annual thing now?
It is.
Okay.
And it happens so fast.
Just like the Oscars.
Well, part of the thing is, I think when you're a big comic book fan, it seems like it just ended when it starts again, because we're seeing all the covers and things come through previews, and they make this big to-do of announcing the new outfit design, which I think is a really fun thing, and it's exciting for cosplayers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So it seems like a 4-month-long, like, big to-do. But in reality, it's like 1 month of comics.
Yeah.
But I'm always excited for it. It's always fun. And you've got, like, different random people they throw together, and it becomes a little, like, crime caper at the party.
Yeah, they always drop something huge, right? Wasn't the...
They always elect a new X-Men team.
Yeah.
At every single one.
And don't they always have some... I mean, Scarlet Witch was killed at the last one. And the first one, wasn't that when they terraformed Mars?
X of Swords spun out from Hellfire.
They announced the concept of terraforming Mars at
the gala.
Right. Because fuck it. I don't know. No, I'm talking to my ass. I don't know what I was going to say.
Good book. You guys were showing some covers. Did you guys pre-order the New Mutant Miss Marvel stuff?
I did the Archer.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably get the Frank Quitely homage. The Sam Neill homage.
Oh, shit, what was I going to say about it?
Did you?
Oh, okay, so the actress who plays Kamala...
Okay, yep, full circle. Here we
going to be writing...
Yes.
One of the comics?
Yep.
It's not the comic, is it?
It was a 5-issue limited.
Okay.
I know that she's writing.
Yeah. I don't think it's the New Mutant Miss Marvel that's coming out, right?
I don't think so.
It's a different series.
It could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thoughts? Thoughts on that?
Part of me's like, that's cool. And then there's another part of me that's like, not everyone's a comic book writer, but make some adjunct things that are a fun side story. And like, yeah, great. I would start to worry if they were like, everyone who plays a character, because Kevin Feige like wants more synergy, starts writing
the new writer of Captain Marvel's Brie Larson,
the books, and then it's like, yeah, we got rid of like Kelly Thompson, so Brie Larson
to bring Brie Larson
writing. In. Ooh. Like as long as I think do it in a side story and brava, I'm happy with it.
Like a backup story like DC does.
If Brie Larson wrote a Captain Marvel comic, I'd be so intrigued and excited to see what it turned out like. And then if
I'd be more impressed if Brie Larson was drawing a Captain Marvel book.
Yeah. If Chris Evans wrote a Captain America book, like that's something that I could probably be like, nah, I don't need that.
Or a Human Torch book.
Or a Human Torch book, right?
Look, I'm saying I desperately need Jared Leto's Morbius comic.
He would oblige probably too quickly.
I'll say this though.
Yeah.
I think giving those characters, because like you mentioned Chris Evans Captain America, I think he specifically, and
He's a good creative. He like directs movies and does like cool art house stuff.
well, he and she, whatever her name is that plays Miss Marvel, they have a very distinct voice when it comes to those characters.
Yeah.
That I think could work well telling a story through those characters. Now, is Benedict Cumberbatch gonna make, a really intriguing, creative Doctor Strange comic?
You think so?
No, I was just following.
Oh, okay. I was like, you were nodding your head. Yes, I was like, oh,
I was nodding along with his point that he was making.
Oh, okay.
But I think there's a lot of potential there for this Kamala Khan book to be like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
When it comes to comic book writing.
Well, and here's a cool thing about the actress is that she was a fan of this character before she was cast.
Yeah.
She dressed up as this character for Halloween one year before she was cast.
Right.
Is all given that you already know she's kind of like a nerd and feels that she's got things in common with that character. So I do think that's pretty cool.
And
synergy.
Someone's gonna be holding her hand, helping her craft the story.
For sure. She's like co-writing it.
Yeah. And though I guess the last thing I'll say is, don't judge a creator based on the fact that they got something started with Fergie a while back. Because as we've learned, that those specific people can write a comic book and write it well.
100%.
Talking about taboo.
Don't judge a book by its taboo.
Right.
I learned very quickly.
Okay, SDCC going on this week.
Yes, and like every year, we have our show too early to have any major drops.
But I will say, this is the first year I've noticed a big difference in availability of things because so many creators are on Whatnot or have some sort of Whatnot collaboration deal going.
Yeah. Right.
That they're doing sales of exclusives ahead of time and doing remarks and stuff. They sell for every like Stan Sakai did one yesterday and it was a little too rich for my blood, and Mirka Andolfo was doing one like as we were starting this, and again a little rich for my blood.
And that was a sketch that
she was doing a sketch cover, but they also do the storefronts that are like filled with like prints you can only buy at the convention otherwise, and they don't go up on other storefronts, but you can buy them through the app from the people remotely.
What I haven't seen yet that I'd really like is one of those distillery Devil's Cut exclusives.
Yeah,
because those look really
What do they
slick.
look like?
So they've got two. One of them, the normal, is like their logo. It's like a yellow background with a big pink D.
Those are for sale.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
They
well,
are.
The other one I saw is
We're going to pause the show real quick and make some purchases.
Vargas is going to order one. The other one I saw is a gold foil. Same thing. It's the D, but it's black and gold.
Yeah.
And that looks sick. And I really want one.
Rabbit Comics sells them.
Aha.
Shout out to Rabbit
Sold
Comics.
out, sorry.
$120. Whoa.
$100 for the regular boy.
Hachi machi.
That's
Is it graded? Nope.
add to cart, $100, SDCC. And
No
then
thanks.
you add $50 for CGC grading.
Have mercy.
Not a chance.
Yeah, that's way too expensive.
Well, they got to pay the bills somehow, and that's one of them.
I doubt that they're selling those for $100 at the con, right? There's no way.
No, they were selling like a bundle of like several things for $100. I think the pink one was 30 and then the gold one was 50. They might have raised the prices of these actually, because I feel like I was on this site the other day and they were the normal prices. I did buy this.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is the Devil's Cut.
The Danny variant.
Which is still available, and there's only 350 copies.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So that's not a bad price. And I'm a huge Danny fan, and I think the Distillery Crew is really cool. Is this fun? We're shopping online while we're on our podcast.
So, this is what we've turned into.
Shop with us. Speaking of shopping with us, maybe this is more Patreon content, but I'll go ahead and do it now. There is a page up on Cadence, and I'm going to have to make this decision before we post this if I want to buy it.
Someone's just going to snake in and get it from you?
They just posted a bunch of Tula Toy stuff.
Yes, they did.
And
that's a lot.
There's some pages that are pretty reasonably priced.
Oh, those all from Barn Burners?
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
And they're cheaper because I think she started them digitally, and then she went over them with pencils and paint and stuff, and then scanned them in again and used them elsewhere. So they're not technically published pages, but parts of them are used throughout the comic book, if that makes sense.
They're still too expensive for me.
They're more like production art.
Oh, I see what you mean.
I was thinking about getting this one.
Yeah, that looks great.
Amelia Earhart.
It's not one big unbroken panel, but it's two big, huge frames on an 11 by 17. And I love her.
Uh-huh.
I think she's such a good artist. It would be really cool to have something of hers that, I think the chance to get Tula Toy original art for around $300 is extremely rare.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I kind of feel like this is my chance to do it if I wanted to.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, you're not going to get anyone in this room telling you not to buy that.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I needed a little bit of confirmation on yes, this was a good decision.
Oh, did you guys see that Robert Kirkman and James Tynion have secured Universal Monsters for Skybound?
Yes.
So James Tynion is writing a Dracula comic book on Skybound.
Uh-huh.
And
when you say secured,
they got the licensing,
the comic book
through
rights.
Skybound.
How on earth are those not public domain?
Because
you need the licensing for that?
Well, because Universal keeps putting out movies every 5 or 6 years to keep the licensing within their hands.
So here's the difference.
When was the last time you saw a Dracula thing?
So here's the difference.
Okay.
There's a difference between the book version of Dracula and the Universal movie version of Dracula.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those two copyrights are distinct.
So I could write a comic book and publish it myself right now with a vampire named Dracula.
If you titled it like Bram Stoker's Dracula, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
You can't be like Universal Studios Dracula.
But who would do that? That's crazy.
I tried it and I got sued out the ass.
But that also depends on if Universal does own the rights to Dracula from the Stoker estates. I only know this because that's how Nosferatu got made.
Right.
They wanted to make a Dracula movie, but the Stoker estate wouldn't license the rights to them.
Here's what you do.
But that was way back when Bram Stoker...
1930s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
It wasn't old enough yet to be public domain. Now all those things have to be public domain.
No, because...
I don't understand.
Because Disney has fucked with our copyright laws so much that the copyright expires something like 70 years after the death of the author, but then gets re-upped basically every time you make something involving that character.
Mm-hmm.
So they made whatever it was, Dracula Untold in 2006 or whatever the last Dracula thing was.
Yeah.
That re-ups the copyright for another, 15 years or something.
That's why Vin Diesel will just keep making Fast and the Furious movies, because he doesn't want want it to go to public domain.
He doesn't want you to write a comic book about family.
I know I see the name Dracula in tons of stuff, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The character Dracula, I don't think is copywritten, but within the world of
the character Dracula, it's like Winnie the Pooh, right?
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh is in public domain,
Yes.
but if you put him in a red shirt, Disney owns that copyright.
right. There's certain things you can't do.
Okay, got it.
Like, you know how Calvin pees on stuff on like those stickers on trucks or whatever? There has to be 30 differences between that and the Calvin and Hobbes strip to get around all the legal loopholes.
Yeah, exactly.
What you can do is, so vampires aren't copywritten, right? So if you write a book about a blood-sucking dentist named Dr. Acula.
Yeah.
You get around it.
There you go.
Technically, if you look at it on the page,
you can name him Dracula.
yeah, Dr. Dracula. If you
Right?
want.
Marvel Comics has a Dracula.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Vampire Hunter D, I think, even has a everything has a Dracula.
Correct.
You just can't be
You can't.
the Universal's version of Dracula.
He can't
you
look
can't
like the Universal Dracula.
He can't look like
can't-
Bela Lugosi.
He can't have the slick back hair, kind of chunky for some reason.
Yeah, right.
That seems like a ridiculous thing to like secure the rights to.
But it's an easy way to sue people when they fucking break it.
I mean, you're going to read it though. And what's exciting to me is that not only do you have Dracula,
Mhm.
but you've got Wolfman, Frankenstein, Invisible Man, and Creature from the Black Lagoon
Right.
that you can get all comics out of. And then
Bride of Frankenstein.
Bride of Frankenstein.
Bride of Sea Creature. Bride of Invisible Man.
And then you get all of the crossover potential,
Mhm.
right?
I could care
House of Slaughter versus Dracula.
less.
Dude, now you're talking.
Chew versus Invisible Man.
This is so stupid. to
Battle
me.
Chasers.
Why is
X
it stupid to
Frankenstein.
you? It's like now
Because
they
you
can
don't
make
need
they can make horror comics.
You don't need the right. Now they can make horror comics. They can make them before with an invisible person.
But now they can tell.
Why do you care that it's Universal's Invisible Man?
Because people care about that
Because
stuff.
people like that's a
I think-
that's a healthy license to get. Like
I think-
people just search that stuff out.
80-year-old men
No,
that are comic nerds maybe care about
just
that.
like there's
I think-
Disney adults, there are Universal.
You drastically underestimate the cultural impact of the Universal monsters, my friend.
Come on, come to bat. We got fastballs all day.
just the idea that you would read this story that could be told just the same without the licensing.
Mm-hmm.
That you'd be reading it and just being like, I'm so glad they have the license. They're doing this with every intention of it being the guy from the movie that was made in the 1930s.
Yeah,
Like that,
that's important to people.
that cannot be that important to people.
You're a comic book fan. How do you not get this?
I just don't understand it with characters that old when you could just make a new invisible guy and just like call it something else.
Invisible Sir.
You call it Hollow Man, and it starred Kevin Bacon.
Great movie, by the way.
I like it better. That's the less corny name than the Invisible Man.
Take that, H.G. Wells.
You
That'll
fucking
show you.
idiot. Right. So I think that's all the news we have.
Yeah.
After Mike has successfully shit all over the Universal property.
Let's get this podcast started. Do you remember when we used
That's
to
a
do that?
callback from like pre-100 episodes.
We used to talk for 35 minutes and then say, let's start the podcast.
Yeah. And then we had weird music doing it and
That music was
wobbly
sick.
voices. Yeah, thank you.
We were told that segments were important,
Yeah, we used to have a producer.
and maybe they are. But we've since abandoned a producer and abandoned segments altogether.
Abandoned any kind of regiment or
So big apologies to you if you missed the 10-second ditties 3 times in our episodes.
Also, the landscaping of podcasting has changed as well.
Oh, that is true.
I mean, if you get down to it. What did you guys read this week?
I read that... Oh, shit. What's the name of that Emma Kubert book that came out like a month or so ago?
Oh, Inkheart or something? Or
It was Heart.
Heart something.
It's about a gal that's goes to like a little town to become a blacksmith, and she like kicks ass at it, and starts to realize over the course of it that she was like a once powerful paladin who had been
nice.
Banished. And what they do when they banish like powerful paladins is they more or less wipe their memory and make them think that they're just like normal people living normal life somewhere. So they're not like unleashing chaos. But she's starting to get hints that she has like otherworldly power, and other people witness her talent and are starting to be like, okay, we're taking note of this person. They may be more than we think, or we might recognize them as someone who's been an outcast and they're valuable to us.
So this is a fantasy book.
It's an extreme fantasy book. It's written by someone, I think Emma Kubert is probably a huge fantasy nerd, because every like few pages she'll like in a box in the bottom, she'll be like, you know, in this world, like this sect of people like comes from, you know, this area and has this sort of responsibility.
A lot of world building.
A lot of like world building stuff that you would get in old like L. Ron Hubbard books, where it's just like the footnotes are like longer than the paragraph on the page. That's not the case in the Emma Kubert book, but it's that style of thing from like, you know, 50s and 60s fantasy books that are just like so intense with rationale for everything.
Okay, because when you started saying this, I was picturing like a person now going to a town to become a blacksmith.
This is like medieval times, creatures and stuff. Yeah.
And what was it called? Did we ever...
Were you looking it up, Greg?
No.
You've been staring at your phone this entire time, completely disengaged.
Sorry. Well,
not helping out.
That's not correct.
What have you been doing then?
I've been researching the Mark Millar stuff I need to know for my book that I'm going to talk about next.
Is it big job?
Big game.
Big game.
Hang on. I'm doing CLZ. I also read Rocket Man and Rocket Girl.
Rocket Man
was a Dynamite book that came out a couple months ago too.
Okay.
They look like superhero Ronald McDonald's. Their outfits are like so bright yellow and red. And just because of whoever the cover artist was, the way they depicted them, they looked very like anime. And so I assumed that this was like, and they've got like jetpacks on. They're like little Rocketeers.
Yeah.
And so I just assumed that they were like Astro Boy inspired, like Japanese manga style characters, but they really are like Rocketeer types. And I don't know if they're an older property that Dynamite got its hands on or anything, but it really reads like that. It reads like early Rocketeer era stuff.
No.
Now Greg is like paying too much attention because I gave you shit about.
I'm like making like full on eye contact.
You're like staring lasers into my soul.
Oh, well, yeah, interesting.
I'm following.
Yeah,
I'm hanging on every word.
Yeah.
But the premise of the book is that they stop a bank robbery, and later the FBI finds out where they live, their identities, comes to their apartment, and is like, "You guys stopped a bank robbery, returned $1 million, but the bank records show that 2 million were stolen.
Oh,
where's the other $1 million?"
Okay.
And they're saying they didn't do it. They leave it kind of like ambiguous for a while whether or not you know the situation. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. Anything else kind of spoils it, but
that sounds pretty fun.
It was a great premise. For how cartoony and silly I thought this was based on their costume designs and
You thought it was like something completely different just from the cover.
I thought it was something so different, and it was like a kind of an interesting noir style book, but with like hokey Rocketeer type characters that live in the city.
Right.
I like it when companies take old like pulp era comic characters and put them in a more modern situation. That's always fun.
Yeah. The Emma Kubert book was Stoneheart. That's the cover.
Wow, that's dope.
Really nice cover.
That looks great.
That's a really cool cover. The
Right.
The interiors are very much like quick pencil drawings.
Okay.
With like the first part of it looks like very unfinished, but then you later find out that that's a flashback.
Got it.
And then the rest of it fills in with color more and is a little more vibrant and fun to watch. It is a loose, unfinished style of art, which I think might dissuade some people from it, but I thought the story was pretty cool. Obviously, she comes from a long line of good storytellers.
So she's a Kubert.
Yeah.
She's of the Kubert family.
Yeah, she is.
Okay.
Yep.
That's cool. Good on her.
Yeah. That's what I read.
She did that one about the cat.
Inkblot.
Yeah.
That book was cool.
Yep.
I don't know. Did it not have dialogue? I can't remember the gist of it. It did have dialogue. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it was minimal.
I remember listening to that episode of First Issue Club.
Right. Just sitting there thinking, man, one day I'd like to be on that show.
Those guys are so cool.
That got heated a little because the Budget King, who was
A live wire.
It seems so stupid to say now, was a member of one of the First Issue Club co-hosts, was named the Budget King, and he didn't like that book, and we kind of got into this conversation about whether or not Emma Kubert is a
Nepo baby.
I guess a Nepo baby of comics. And I really liked it, so it got a little heated.
I think whenever children of iconic creators, whether it be comic books, music, or whatever, that discussion does start to begin of just like, well, they're only making this album or writing this comic because, their father was such and such. And so, but for the most part, I mean, most of those kids have been living and breathing the industry, so they know more than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I remember liking Inkblot too, so
yeah.
Mike can suck it. Anyway, I read from Image Comics, Big Game from Mark Millar and Pepe Larraz. This is the culmination of every book that Mark Millar has put out on Millar World.
Yeah, this is his
epic
crossover, right?
The epic crossover of Wanted, Prodigy, Huck, Empress, Kick-Ass, Ambassadors, all of it.
Huh?
Yeah.
And it is so fun to watch unfold on paper. It is so cool. And if you're fans of these franchises, to see like Kick-Ass show up and like he's writing a note to the Ambassadors of how he wanted to be on the Ambassadors, and you're just like, holy shit, like, has he been planning this since Wanted? No, but I mean, it's kind of cool.
What blew me away, I haven't read it yet.
Is this like a novelty one-shot thing?
No.
It's a 5-issue limited.
Wow.
That's what blew me away.
Yeah.
Is that like, what story is he going to tell with all these properties in 5 issues?
Something crazy.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so much material to cover.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you get like Magic Order, you have Huck, you have, so many other things that he's written over the 20 years Millar World's been a thing.
Yeah. Are the Chrononauts going to show up? Like,
it could be. So the issue 1 definitely hooked me from the beginning. So I'm excited to see where Big Game goes.
Awesome. What's the premise?
So all the bad guys had teamed up and killed all the superheroes.
Oh.
Like in 1986.
Okay.
And now superheroes are popping up again.
Okay.
Either by time travel or like aliens coming to this planet are just like, oh, I can help out and stuff. And so the villains get together again of just like, listen, goddammit, we already did this once. We have to do this again.
Yeah.
And they go into this whole dialogue about how they have been controlling like famine and like elections and stuff like they're just like, this is like Legion of Doom times a million. Just like, we cannot let this unravel. We have spent too much time making this shit work out.
Okay.
And so Nemesis shows up, and he's part of it, and he's like, who the fuck do I have to kill? And they're just like, everyone. We have to kill every good guy again. And so, like, Prodigy, you remember that book, Prodigy? He shows up.
The world's smartest man.
Yep. And then Kick-Ass shows up. Magic Order is alluded to. There's like a bunch of stuff that you're just like, oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that too. And you're just like, they've done everything's mentioned in here.
That's wild.
And so the next 5 issues are going to be just chock full of Easter eggs.
I wonder if the more bizarre ones that take place in like space or other timelines will find their way in.
I don't know.
Like thinking like, what was the one he did with Greg Capullo? Reborn.
Yeah.
That's alluded to because so like
is it really cool?
They actually gave like a reading order of just like, here's where you start to follow the story.
Oh, cool.
And like Reborn's on there, Huck is on there, King of Spies, Nightclub, Starlight, like books. Oh, Chrononauts are on there. Like every book you think.
Is Sharky the Bounty Hunter on there? That one was like a goofy, silly comedy.
He is. He's right there. Yep, right there.
Funny.
Kingsman. So
that's wild.
American Jesus, like
American Jesus,
like every book. They're like,
that's funny.
They're like, read these books, and like you'll just have a great time.
That's wild.
And so I didn't know what to expect because they hid everything about what Big Game was.
Right.
Mark Millar was just like,
listen, he said it was going to be a big crossover. That's the only thing I knew about
He's like, listen, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what it is. Just know that it's a crossover and just come prepared.
Yeah.
And I picked it on a lark, read number 1. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. And I know we always pop DC and Marvel for doing the same thing, but this feels different. Like all these indie things that are uniquely Mark Millar.
Right.
And so you're just like, this is kind of badass.
And they're also disparate too, which is kind of what is like, it's almost like a morbid curiosity for me. Like, how are you going to make this into one story?
Right. It's like, well, are you putting tuna in that peanut butter sandwich? Yeah. And you're just like, yeah. And like, oh, are you rolling it in a pizza? Yeah. And you're like, okay. I kind of want to try it. Looks gross, but let's go.
Yeah.
I bought the B covers for almost all of Huck.
I love. Isn't it like the Forrest Gump one or something?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're all like movie poster homages.
Yeah.
Huck was so fun.
Such a great series.
So that was one of the books I read.
Wild. Yeah. I kept seeing everywhere that this is like, I didn't know how much hype it was, but it's like, oh, this is going to be the book of the week. Pick this up, whatever. And it's
it wasn't even on my radar. That's funny. How big was it?
A standard. Maybe a little bit bigger, but it wasn't anything like.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't a 64.
Or whatever. Yeah. You're like, Jesus Christ, am I still reading this? I also read Blade: Mother of Evil by Brian Hill and Alana Casagrande.
Hell yeah, that book ruled.
It was cool. It was actually really, really cool. Blade is sent on a mission to save this young woman, and shit goes sideways. Vampires and werewolves are involved.
Yeah,
and then a woman gets her head cut off. Her woman gets her head cut off and still talks. So you connect the dots, folks.
Yeah, that book was awesome.
It was really cool. I'm excited to see more Blade shit.
How did it feel in regard to like Blade more recently being more entangled in the larger MCU? Did this feel very like...
This felt like Wesley Snipes' Blade.
Okay.
Like he had a saunter about him. I'm just like, this dude's got fucking swagger.
Yeah.
Like this Blade rules.
Because I think, there was a while there where you're just like, Blade comics are kind of divorced from the rest of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while you might be like, oh, here's a fun issue where Spider-Man shows up. For the most part, they were like,
it's
very separate.
Yeah, like Captain America didn't show up in this.
Yeah.
And it was just like, hello, Blade.
Yeah. But
Please join the Avengers.
I do feel like they made an effort to like make him a part of like big team ups and things recently.
Yeah, I mean, he joined the Avengers.
Yeah, right. He was a member of the Avengers.
I liked that it felt like Blade had like a presence about him. Like, he's hired by this whatever head werewolf or something. And it really felt like this dude went to Blade because it's like, I have no other options and I know this dude's going to get the job done. And that's very cool to me to see.
Yeah.
To see Blade as somebody who's not like the A-Team where he's like underground and like nobody knows who he is and he's like helping people. But it's almost the exact opposite where he's like, everybody knows if Blade's coming for you, you're going to get fucked up.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I loved this book.
Yeah, it was hard to see it. I mean, to see it done like this, like every page, like Blade has this like aura to him, and like his like you could feel the presence of like Brian Hill in there, just like Blade's this thing. He's not an Avenger. He's not like on a team. Blade is in the alleyways in the dark parts of this universe, doing his own fucking thing.
Right.
Like he doesn't give a shit about Eternals or extraterrestrial invasion. Like he's got his vampire stuff he has to figure out, and the werewolves. Like he has to figure that out, so you guys don't have to worry about it.
Right.
And that was so cool where this book was coming from. Of just like it really. I love it when Marvel Comics explore like the underbelly and the seedier parts of this world that don't get explored.
For sure.
And I think Brian Hill is gonna go headstrong into it because this woman cuts her face off and rips her skin.
Yeah.
At the end of the book, and I was like, holy shit. Like, this book is so stupid in that it bleeped out a curse word, but then we saw a woman rip her flesh off. And I was just like, Marvel, you pick a lane.
Right.
Like, we can't have one and then, like, not the other. Like, if we're grown up to see that, flesh being ripped off of bone, I can see a cuss.
Yeah. I'll send you the extra 60 cents to print the Max label on the
just so I can see shit or fuck.
Yeah. This book was absolutely ripped. I loved it, and I hope this is an ongoing.
Same. I think to do an ongoing Blade series is simple.
Yeah.
It's an easy thing to do.
For sure.
So I don't see why Marvel couldn't make this an ongoing.
Yep. Loved it.
I love Elena Casagrande.
She is amazing.
And there's a handful of Brian Hill books I've read and really liked. He wrote a book called The Chariot that was like an indie book about a car race. That was really cool.
Yeah.
So I'll have to read this. I'm sure I pre-ordered this. I just haven't gotten it yet.
And the last we saw Blade, he was the sheriff of Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Which
Vampire Town.
We covered that a few episodes back. What a cool concept.
Yeah. And this book,
radiation doesn't affect vampires. Is that the
and
idea?
they can heal differently.
Yeah. And this book definitely like launches off from that with Blade having that kind of presence about him. He's got that swagger. He knows who he is. Everybody around him knows who he is. It was just awesome. I loved the way Brian Hill put Blade's voice in his mouth. Like, you know what I'm saying. Sick book.
Sick. Varg. Did you read anything else?
Yes. To no one's surprise, I read Moon Knight, City of the Dead.
Oh, that's right. How was it?
It was great. Tons of fun. David Pepos absolutely knocked it out of the park. He totally gets Moon Knight's whole thing. The art was absolutely incredible without going like too over the top. So the premise of the book, Moon Knight is out and about, and he finds this kid who's getting attacked by this gang called the Jackals that worship Anubis, the Egyptian god of the dead.
Makes sense.
And the kid is killed, but brought back. He was dead for 5 seconds. Hunter's Moon brings him back, and Moon Knight has to go to the Egyptian city of the dead to retrieve the kid's soul.
Oh.
And bring him back to life.
Okay.
So while Moon Knight is in the city of the dead, he fights the jackals that he just killed while saving this kid.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
And they, during the fight, like, because the city is all like psycho whatever, like metaphysical in Moon Knight's head. So they fight, and they're traveling backwards through Moon Knight's history.
Oh.
And there's a great page where Moon Knight gets punched in the face, and the comic panels are cracked, and you see all these like moments in Moon Knight history.
Oh, whoa.
And he lands in the last mission he did with Layla, who is the Scarlet Scarab, because this is her first appearance as Scarlet Scarab. And that's how she shows up in the book, helping out Moon Knight as he's fighting these Jackal gang members.
So do we get like an origin story for her in this?
That was kind of what Moon Knight 25 was.
Okay.
Because that was set 30 years
something
in the
like
past
that.
or whatever.
But she doesn't become the Scarlet Scarab in that issue, right?
Correct. This was the Moon Knight 25 was like her human like origin story in relation to Mark Spector.
Okay.
This tells you like who she is, because she's still the avatar of Tuaret.
Okay.
Or whoever. The protector of the Duat, right? The city of the dead.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that issue 2 she will give us exposition on her like
How she became that character.
backstory.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought we were going to get from this issue, was like all kinds of exposition on how she took the mantle of Scarlet Scarab.
None of that.
Okay. We're thrown right in.
This is a 5-issue limited, and I think David Pepos is great working under those kinds of constraints. The stuff he did with like Scout's Honor and the OZ.
The OZ, yeah.
He knows how to get story across without just like filling a page full of text.
Yeah.
So I loved this book, regardless of the fact that it was a Moon Knight. I'm kind of biased, but it was awesome. It was really, really great.
All right on.
Yeah, it's pretty telling that Marvel is invested in Pepos, because he is just gaining more and more work over there.
Yeah.
And with more heavy-hitting characters. So I'm very excited to see where he goes after all this.
Yep.
Wouldn't surprise me if he gets a pretty hefty ongoing series.
I said it when Scout's Honor came out. I said the event that Marvel lets David Pepos do is going to be awesome.
No, truly. And like he even had like kind of a mini event with the Savage Avengers stuff.
Yeah.
And like he did fantastic.
Yep.
So, proven writer, can write the absolute shit out of a sentence.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Really good structure. Well, I believe that's all the books.
That's all I had.
That's every comic ever.
Every comic ever. You're probably wondering, hey, First Issue Club, you didn't cover any DC stuff, because it's all fucking Night Terrors.
Yeah.
And
I didn't read Hawk Girl.
And I'm not rich. I read Hawk Girl. It was it was good, a lot of exposition, and I will be the first to admit, I do not get Hawkman, I do not get Hawk Girl. It is a confusing
they're people and they have
back
wings.
history. It is. If it was just that, oh baby, I would be in heaven. But it isn't. But that was actually the standout book for DC this week, was the Hawk Girl stuff. So go check that out. I'm not rich enough to avoid Night Terrors, so
yeah, same.
Skipped it. Skip it up.
I bought the books for the ongoings that I normally read. So I bought some of the big event books, and then Night Terrors, Batman, Night Terrors, Catwoman, Night Terrors.
But it doesn't have the same numbering.
No.
Okay, you just want to.
I didn't know what the deal was. Like, if this was going to pick up like in continuity and just be like, oh, like there was Scarecrow gas. Like, throughout like Gotham and the, America. So like Superman is having, I'm buying Action Comics right now. So I bought the like Superman Night Terrors stuff.
Do you want to know the tea on what Night Terrors is? Because I read Night Terrors 1.
Okay. Yeah.
So a new villain has emerged.
Yes.
And
his name is Super Batman.
His name is Sleepy. He is this villain is on the hunt for like the Nightmare Stone, which basically will give him godlike powers to be the god of nightmares. So the whole Earth right now is asleep, except for people that can't sleep, like Red Tornado because he's an android, and Dead Man because he's dead. So right now, Dead Man is currently piloting Batman's body like fucking Voltron.
Okay, cool.
And he's trying to figure out who this new villain is.
Come on. This is cool. Right?
I don't hate this idea. I actually think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Does it warrant 55 fucking different books?
That's a lot of comics.
Nope.
Yeah.
I'll probably get Night Terrors 1 through 5 because that's kind of cool. I learned my lessons with metal and death metal.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bought all of those. That was cool.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. And so, I mean, the book is basically just like this new villain fucking with heroes and villains' brains while they're asleep. Like the Joker one, his nightmare is he has a normal job. He works in like a computer, like
Wayne
data.
Corp or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's fun and campy.
I love this idea. DC, in my opinion, does events way better than Marvel.
I will agree, and here's why. DC has paused every other ongoing book.
Yes.
While
right?
this is happening.
Which
Brilliant.
allows you to afford it.
Brilliant. Or just skip it and not miss anything.
Sure. Yeah.
You guys are insane. Marvel has Civil War, War of the Realms, Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Those are all way better than Name a Crisis.
I'm just saying.
This is Patreon content.
You're also naming like events that took place like several years ago.
And also good events. Empire.
Didn't hear Empire in there. I would say lately, if we did a 1-to-1, which maybe this is worth doing on the Patreon sometime, is like this was a DC event. What was the closest Marvel event?
Oh, for sure.
And then we go back like
Yeah, I dig that.
we go back like 5 years and say which one of the two was better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm betting you anything that
Battle of the Events.
that DC wins the battle of the events by like 7 out of 10
Wow,
events.
someone's
I'll take that
forgetting
bet.
event Leviathan.
Yeah, for sure.
Nope, I'm doing this now. The research has begun.
Yeah.
If you want to hear it, go to patreon.com/firstissue club. We'll be over there. Not talking about that currently. We will in a couple weeks.
Because we just had the idea.
Yeah, we have to do some prep.
But we got other stuff we're going to be talking about.
Sneak preview. I thought Leviathan was kind of cool.
You thought, okay. Tune in this week to hear us yell at Mike D.
Did you guys read Leviathan? Kind of guessing you didn't.
The Superman book, Leviathan thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a different one?
We'll go to Patreon and we'll talk about it.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Bye. First Issue Club is edited and produced by Mike DeStacy, Greg Lichtag, and Andy Vargas. Follow us on social media at First Issue Club, and check out our Patreon for videos, audio, and more at patreon.com/firstissueclub.